definitely on. Oh, this is a nice sized flathead. Let's see this guy. That was perfect. Whoa. That is so awesome, right? Let's let this guy go. And this is why I love these bait feeders. Man. Here we got like a little tiny baby flathead on the Pontus. What is going on, cat fishermen of YouTube and of the world? Folks, it is me, the Catterman here. Some people also decide to call me Kevin. That is on my birth certificate. So far, I'm the Catterman, and I'm the resident catfish angler here at KastKing USA. Today, I want to talk to you about, as you already know, the difference between the two new bait feeders, both the Sharky III and Pontus. It's Pontus. I used to call it Pontus, and that's not correct. It is the Pontus. Pontus, which rhymes like Gus. Pontus. Pon-Gus. Alright, so now that we got past that, what's the difference between both of these? Let's take the Pontus first. Both of these reels have a CNC'd aluminum spool, which is computer machined to make it as accurate as possible. They also both have graphite bodies, so that's rust proof, which is great. Now, the difference between the Pontus and the Sharky is that the Pontus is a little bit more spread out. You're going to notice it's a little bit of a wider, bigger reel in general, while the Sharky is a little bit more smaller and compact. Now, the maximum drag that this right here, the biggest Pontus, which is the 5,000, can put out is about 20 pounds of drag. The 6,000 for the Sharky III bait feeder has up to 26.5 pounds of drag. So there's a little slight difference in the max drag amount that can be set out. Now, the Pontus is not built for saltwater. Okay, while the Sharky III can handle both freshwater and saltwater perfectly fine. So if you're doing a lot of freshwater fishing, I would recommend to you that if you're going to get a bait feeding reel, we're going to talk about this apparatus in a second too, because that's what really defines both of these reels, then I would recommend you go with the Pontus. If you like to do some saltwater fishing sometimes and some freshwater fishing sometimes, you like to switch it off between both, I would go with the Sharky III. Now, the Sharky III also has 10+1 anti-reverse bearing, which are shielded stainless steel bearings. Now, shielded bearings are very important because they are shielded, so they keep the grease inside the bearing and they allow the bearing to stay clean so that no dirt and debris can get into the bearing. Now, the Pontus has Maxidur bearings, which are not shielded, but they are corrosion resistant, which, you know, does always help. You never know what kind of scenario you might get into. Now, personally, me, what do I use the Pontus for? Well, the Pontus here is actually on a medium heavy rod. And I like these 6'6" rods for kayak fishing. So what I've been doing with the Pontus, actually, I've been taking this big jig head and I've been putting sunfish on there, and I've been jigging them in my kayak on top of structure for big flathead catfish. On the other hand, with the Sharky III here, I'm using these 3,000 size models with 40-pound superpower braid on them to catch flathead catfish, but more in a sitting in the rod holder position. Now, in general, if you're going to ask me to pick between both of these, I really have to go with the Sharky III because I do a lot of saltwater fishing too on the side. But if you were just, like I said, to go freshwater fishing, you might as well just settle for the Pontus. It's not a bad choice. Less than $40 and you get a big bang for the buck. Now, there is a difference between the bait clickers on both of these reels. Now, the bait clicker, the great thing about both the Sharky III and the Pontus is that you can really set the rear drag system, which is used for the bait clicker right here. See that? As you turn it clockwise, you're going to tighten it and make it harder for the line to release when you engage the bait clicker setting. And when you go counterclockwise, you're loosening it up. You're going to notice that. It's nice and loud too, so you can really hear what's going on over there and how you're tightening it. Now, the smallest Pontus models have a 5.2 to 1 gear ratio, while the largest Pontus has a 4.9 to 1 gear ratio. The small Sharky bait feeder, and only the 3000, has a 5.1 to 1 gear ratio, while the largest Sharky bait feeder models, so 4,000, 5,000, and 6,000, all have a 5.5 to 1 gear ratio. That's pretty quick for a spinning reel. One thing I also didn't realize, so now I guess I forgot to tell you, is we also have a part here on this spool, not on the second spool, the extra one, but on the original spool, that is made to hold braid down. So usually you would put like a backing, either you'd put electrical tape or you would put monofilament on there and then tie that to the braid to make sure that it doesn't slip. But now we don't need to do that. For a smaller reel like this, I got the Baitfeeder and the Pontus because in general, you never know what kind of situation I might end up in. I might be also fishing for trout on the kayak, and what if I'm dropping some minnows to the bottom and I want to engage the bait feeder setting? I cannot do that. Same thing with bass or going for pike. I cannot do that. So in general, both of these have bait feeders that both are engaged instantaneously when you decide to set the hook on a fish. And bait feeder settings work especially good with circle hooks. Now I've put both of these reels through the ringer. The Sharky, I've caught a ton of flathead catfish with. I've been so obsessed with the Sharky that it's almost biased, but the Pontus is still a great reel. The only thing is I got the two 3,000 size Sharkies, and if you can see, there's a difference in the clickers between the Pontus and the Sharky, and that's the main reason why I chose to go with the Sharky III. Now, since the bait feeder setting is so important, let's pin the Pontus against the Sharky III. Let's see which one is louder. Boy, that is a loud bait clicker. Okay, so I'm a fish taking the bait. Definitely way quieter, which is not exactly bad if it's a really quiet night, but if you're in the city, you're doing some rural fishing like I sometimes do around Philly, it could be a little tough to hear that. The good thing about a quieter bait clicker though is if you're fishing for carp, because they're very sensitive to sound and to vibrations in the water. So I think the Pontus would be better for carp. I think the Sharky III would be a little bit too loud for it, but would be really good for catfish. In the end, both of these reels are great. Now, if you want to have a smaller bait feeding reel and you're just going to use it in freshwater, I would go with the Pontus. If you want to have a larger size bait feeding reel from the 3,000 to 6,000 size, you want to have a lot of drag for a smaller reel though, and you want to have some nice line capacity and use it both in fresh and salt water, I would go with the Sharky III bait feeder. Salt and freshwater? Just freshwater. It's a tough choice for some of us. It's up to you. But now that we're done with that, I want to show you the Sharky III bait feeder in action on the water, pulling in and tugging in some big old flathead catfish. All this is possible because of KastKing.
Affordable innovation.
There's no way this... Oh no, my whole kayak's getting dragged. Dude, chill. Ah! Ah! So yeah, here we go. That's probably a nice 20-pound flathead, easy, on a big creek chub head. Catamaran is slimed up. We're on another flathead. Oh, that's another nice sized flathead. Oh, dude. Yo, look at that paddle tail go. Nice, guys. Another flathead on the creek chub head. Guys, beautiful Schuylkill River flathead. Gonna let this big boy. Yep, he's definitely on. Whoa. This is a nice sized flathead. Whoa. All I heard is literally the rod blowing up. I let this guy go. Woo! If you're still not sure about going between a regular spinning reel or a bait feeding spinning reel, I want you to stay tuned, subscribe down to the channel, and the next video that I'm going to make for you guys is going to be about how to use the bait feeding setting on a spinning reel for the greatest advantage, so you can have the best hookups, and how to use it in a river system where there's a lot of current. Thank you guys for watching. The choice is yours, Pontus or Sharky III bait feeder. You make the choice and let me know which one you picked. See you next time, guys. Catamaran out.